What made you decide to come here?
It's a really good question. Lots of different answers. I think the most important is I was sat at home one evening and looking at the news, and I thought to myself, how could I not do something about this? How can I not go out there and help? Especially seeing the war crimes being committed on civilian populations, I just thought, no, I can't sit by and let this happen. It reminded me of stories that my grandmother and grandfather taught me about the First World War, Second World War, even in Britain, you know. And I thought to myself, in this century, we're experiencing stuff like this still, and by a first world country like Russia, that's criminal.
But a lot of people, I think, feel very deeply about it, but they've taken up volunteering or delivering aid or helping and raise money. I mean, coming and putting yourself on the front line is a whole different ball game, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. But I think if you can do that, then it's valuable to do that, because there aren't many people, I think, that would want to do that. And of course, most people my age have a wife and kids to worry about. So being in that position, I don't have to worry about what my wife is thinking of me or my children are thinking of me. So I can just do what I need to do and get hands-on right on the front line and try and help in the best way I can.
And what sort of action have you seen so far?
Probably the worst thing I saw, we were at a stabilisation point, which used to be a children's hospital, quite far north. In fact, it's probably quite close to where we are now, probably further west, but we had a Russian artillery shell go off about 100 metres from the hospital building, blew out all the windows. That was quite a stark realisation of how little of a damn the Russians give about the Ukrainians.
Did you feel like you came close to getting hurt or injured yourself?
No. It's difficult to explain, but I mean, with artillery, you're never going to know until after you've been hit. So I always thought when I was a kid, if I ended up in a war zone, I'd seen it on the TV. I always thought that, wow, how do people put up with that, knowing that they might get blown up any second? But when you're actually there, and it's peace and quiet like this, you just forget all about it. Mm-hmm. There's no point worrying about what could be.
There's a lot of talk about potential war crimes being committed. What have you seen on the ground that either backs that up or not?
I've seen medics wounded by Russian rifle rounds. I've heard countless tales. I've personally never seen medics shot at myself in the short time I've been here, but I've heard countless stories from 2014 of medics being shot at. Especially by Russian sharpshooters who seem to be trained to shoot medics first. I'm not sure about the average Russian soldier, but from what I've heard, they also will pick on medics.
What have you seen this time that might show that they're targeting civilians or ambulance workers or anyone
I've seen bullet
who's a
holes.
non-combatant?
I've seen bullet holes stricken all across our ambulances at the HQ of Russian-calibre. And, you know, the hospitals that we go to that are just shattered windows and sandbags all up there. It's like nothing I've ever seen before. It's incredible.
And what's the reaction been from the fellow Ukrainian fighters that you're alongside to you?
Yeah. They're really glad to have us here in any way possible, and never underestimate the value of just being there and having our flag on your arm, because that means the world to them, because they know that we're sending them weapons and we're sending them vehicles and trying to help out passively as much as we can, but just being there in person, it keeps their mind at ease, knowing that the whole world stands with them.